Hello and welcome to the 6th edition. I'm Charles Pius. Top stories this hour. Political parties signed peace accord in Abuja ahead of 2027 general elections. At least 18 killed in renewed violence as police warn casualty figure could rise. And Tigray accuses Ethiopian federal forces of drone attack near regional capital. Details in a moment. We begin in Abuja. Nigeria is taking a decisive step towards a peaceful 2027 general elections as political leaders and presidential candidates converge in Abuja for the first signing of the National Peace Accord. The agreement sets the tone for issue-based campaigns, urging parties to shun violence and hate speech and divisive rhetoric as official campaigning begins, amid growing concerns over political tension and misinformation.
Peaceful, issue-based campaign. We must, for the sake of this country, ensure that our conduct reflects the office we're seeking, our behaviors, that we do the right things and campaign on issues that Nigerians are going through today. Did you see what I wrote about those who died in Osun State? When I read my tweets, I said, let us not forget those who died in ensuring that the election was achieved the way it was said. And we should visit them, we should condole their families, and we should remain prayerful and conduct ourselves in a way that in our democracy, nobody needs to die. It shouldn't be. It is painful. And I wish it never happened again. Well, because I want to change the process, I have to go through it. So I have to do it. We're seeking an office where we should be example. You can't answer his questions without being in the So that process that will make you to answer his excellency should be excellent. And the only way to do it is to conduct yourself properly.
Reverend Father Atta Barkindo, Executive Director of the Kuka Center, Head of Secretariat, National Peace Committee, joins us live for this discussion. Good to have you. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. I just wanted to ask, what are the key commitments of this particular accord? And are there specific things embedded in this particular accord that would enable the political parties and the actors, make sure that they follow through with all of the accord that is stated?
So, thank you for having me. First of all, the accord has 8 key provisions, and each of these provisions are linked to provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act and other external laws that help us to gather elections. But central to it is for political parties, now that the campaigns officially commence tomorrow, which is Wednesday tomorrow, 19 August, officially, we want them to dwell on issues, on peaceful campaigns and rallies, issues that are very, very significant, that Nigerians are concerned about, issues that are linked to their programs, their manifestos, and what the parties have set out to do. We don't want personal attacks. We don't want personal insults. We don't want fake news about candidates and parties. We really want to shift the attention of Nigerians from that so that they can actually concentrate on issues that border on the progress of this nation. And that's what exactly we are committing them to. So issues of peace, issues of disinformation, issues of violence, issues of intimidation, issues of inclusion. These are issues that matter. Some you have to reject them, others you have to promote them. And that's what the accord is centrally about.
What about the accountability process? I mean, we've seen this peace accord signed before the elections and just before the elections happen and before the campaign starts. And we've seen political parties and even actors flout these rules. And there seem to be no consequences in the past. Are there things embedded in this accord that would hold them responsible if they go against the accord?
Absolutely. And we should take it much more broader and at the national level. the culture of impunity in Nigeria and lack of accountability, not just with the accord, with the entire judicial process, is really a national issue in this country. Ours is a moral contribution. So we are handling it in 2-3 ways. Number one, the Peace Committee provides moral guide, moral compass. But we have the INEC chairman, the Independent National Electoral Commission, the chairman, and then the police IG. They sign as witnesses. So they are empowered by law to enforce this accord because they are our partners. And number two, we have what we call the Election Security Information Hub. So our duty from now until the election is to monitor the conduct of political parties and candidates as to whether they comply with this or not, through their speeches, through their articles, through their news interviews, and recall them their attention to the provisions of this accord. But also the data and the evidence we gather in the area of violations, we hand them over to the police and to INEC, who are constituted by law. And to be honest with you, during the off-cycle elections, we have seen even where political parties demand for the evidence from this accord when they are engaging judicial process. So it has really been very helpful. And for us, we want to enthrone a culture of accountability. But beyond that, a culture of civility and decency in political engagement. That's what we really want to do.
Right, there are concerns. I mean, we've seen these elections characterized by misinformation, disinformation, violence, hate speech. We've seen that happen even in the off-cycle elections. One would wonder, are there things proposed in that particular accord that would help to contain the escalation of these issues?
Absolutely. One of the things proposed is that each of the accord is linked to a particular provision of the Constitution and the Electoral Act, including fines or jail terms that will be applied if people violate. And INEC is aware, the police is aware. So our job, as I said, is simply to encourage the political parties to know. Because in the past, if you take a look back at the past, for example, in 2011, we don't want what happened. Within one day, over 800 people were killed after the results were announced. We don't want that kind of thing to really repeat itself. And so if politicians can really pay attention, and if you look at from 2015, 2019, 2023, the reduction in widespread violence we have seen and we have witnessed. And I think partly because of the deployment of that moral guide that the Peace Committee members, continue to provide. It's going to be a long journey for Nigeria, but we are not going to step back just because there are bits and pieces of violations. Therefore, we do nothing. We will have hope. We will keep encouraging politicians to change their conduct, to change their attitude, but ultimately to change the culture of public debate, discourse, and political engagement, to be guided by civility and decency in the way they do things. And for us, this is what we hope to achieve.
Reverend Father Atta Barkindo, many thanks. We'd really appreciate you for coming in, giving us a broader introspection into this particular accord. We also hope that the accord, you guys who are in the committee, would hold these politicians accountable, take them to the police, as you used to have said, in case they are found wanting in some of these.
Absolutely. They are aware. We engage them. We did what we call socialization of the accord.
Right.
So we sat with the politicians, the political parties, went through all the clauses of that party. But ultimately, and the final signing will be in January, 2 or 3 days to the elections, to commit them to accepting the outcome of the vote. So
absolutely,
we hope and see so that Nigeria can move forward.
Reverend Father Atta,
thank you very much.
Truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We're headed for a short break. When we return, the 6th edition continues to stay. Welcome back. Afrobeats superstar Davido has spoken on a range of issues surrounding Nigeria's political climate, the Osun governorship elections, and his own experiences in the political space. In an exclusive interview with News Central, the music star and nephew of Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke spoke on his decision to return to Nigeria, his concerns about the political atmosphere, and the issues surrounding the recent elections. He also touched on his personal experiences, interactions with influential figures, and his views on the country's political future.
2 years into my uncle's administration, You know what I'm saying? We're building roads, we're building flyovers. The people are happy. We're paying salaries on time. Like, they've never seen this kind of administration before. You know what I'm saying? So I never had in doubt once that we're not going to win. That was 2 years ago. Very confident. 2 years ago. 6 months ago. I started hearing things that almost these people are coming. You know, I have a lot of friends in the opposition party as well. Okay. You know, very close friends. And as they just started, they'll be playing with me. Will they come? Will they come? Will they come? Then before you know it, Osun becomes a war zone. Literally. You know what I'm saying? Before I came for the last rallies that I stayed for before I traveled to London, when I was leaving my house in Atlanta, I looked at my twins. I said, God, please let this not be the last time I see them. Because I felt like I was going for a war. You know what I'm saying? You're killing people every day. You know, you're freezing our accounts. You're taking us to court. What didn't they do? Do you understand? You're talking about a sitting governor. You know? So, you know, it just got to a point where it was clear that these people were ready to do anything to snatch it and take it back. You know? So, like I did in 2022, I followed them bumper to bumper. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get that.
All my social medias together, the 3 I used, together, I reach about almost 70 million people. If I do like that's 70 million people. Do you understand? So
As Nigeria approaches another general election cycle, conversations around security and credible elections have taken center stage as the 8th edition of the Blueprints newspaper public lecture in Abuja. The event combines a crucial public discourse on national security and electoral integrity with the presentation of the Blueprints newspaper Impact Series, an award of excellence. The Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, represented by his Senior Special Assistant on Policy and Strategy, Major General Olufemi Akinjobi, raised concerns over rising threats in the digital space alongside other security issues already facing the country as the 2027 general elections approaches.
The topic for this year's lecture, Security Challenges and Integrity of the Nigerian 2025 election, was carefully choosing to address the current priorities centering around national safety, and was also choosing as our modest contribution to the lingering security challenges bothering our dear nation, which of course is a source of concern to all of us. He is expected to provide informed perspective on the relationship between national security and the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections.
Nigeria's experience reflects many of the challenges confronting democracies across the world, and we continue to confront terrorism and violent extremism, and to combat banditry, kidnapping, organized criminal networks, and communal conflicts. With our security agencies actively engaged across many theaters. Yet, while these traditional threats persist, a new generation of challenges is emerging. The digital revolution has transformed the information environment. Artificial intelligence has introduced extraordinary opportunities for development, innovation, and governance. But it has also created new vulnerabilities. Democracy is never secured by institutions alone. It is secured by a people who collectively believe in their nation's worth and its worth protection.
And still talking security, 25 people have been confirmed dead in a renewed attack on Binper village of Ampa, Wai district in Mangu Local Government Area of Plateau State. Locals said the assailants stormed the village, shooting at residents in their sleep while setting houses ablaze, leaving many other survivors battling for lives in the hospital. The Commissioner of Police, Ayodeji Fanio, who was at the scene of the incident, condoled with the mourners, assuring that the attackers will be tracked down, arrested and brought to justice. News Central's Chizoba Anionwe has been there and has this latest update.
Okay, we are here at Binper village, of course, in Amper district of Mangu Local Government Area of Plateau State, where an incident occurred again in the early hours of Tuesday, taking the lives of 24 people. And again, one other woman that lost her life in the hospital. She couldn't make it because of the injuries she sustained during this attack. Behind me here are the community members, where the Commissioner of Police, Ayodeji Fanio, is briefing them, saying that they've already swung into action to ensure that the perpetrators of this act are brought to justice. He said they are already making gains, and they are putting in more efforts, bringing in more deployments, boots on the ground, to ensure that these attackers, even though fleeing at the moment, are found and brought to justice. The youths are angry, actually. In fact, we had to see how we could maneuver our ways into this community, into this village, because at a time, I must tell you, they were getting angry. They were saying they are losing hope in everybody, every institution. However, the CP is still speaking with them, and that is why I couldn't have him join me at this time. But I have words from one of the police officers that after this discussion that he's having with the community members, he'll be able to grant me some time to speak to us on what gains they have made so far. However, I have the youth leader of this community, and of course, if you look at him, you would see the anger, you see the grief on his face, telling the whole story. However, we'll still hear from him what actually transpired, just in brief. Mr. Sunday, our condolences once again.
Thank you so much.
So what can you tell us in brief, what actually happened and what the situation is at the moment?
Our people were sleeping at night when these assailants came out in mass. They came in mass and massacred our people, children, mothers, fathers. Some of the children are not even up to a year. Some, in fact, they are still tender. They are children that cannot harm even a fly, but yet they were massacred, killed in cold-blooded. Honestly, we don't know what to do. During this incident, there was no security agents. Nobody was there to help the community. Only in the morning, that is when the assailants might have left. Then few persons came from the military who were not even allowed to come into the community because of how disappointed we are in them. And most of the routes that these assailants followed are routes that pass by the checkpoint close to Sabongori site. Because most of these assailants, they stay within. They are not unknown people. They are Fulani herdsmen. Because they are not unknown gunsmen. This is not farmers' herders clash. This is what we call ethnic cleansing. To some point, we lost hope, because we feel as if there is nobody that is going to come to our aid any longer.
Mr. Sunday, while this has happened, do you think, was there any early warning sign to this? Because we know that sometime in the past, sometimes they give the right letters and say they are coming to attack, or maybe cattle rustled, or something happens before this kind of incident happens. Do you think there was anything that gave rise to this attack?
There was actually a sign, because it didn't start here. They came to Murish, a village very close to here, to Binper. They came there. They killed one person there. Then from there, they went to Dwak, Metumbi. They burned down all the houses around that place. Before, that is almost just some few days to this one here. That's to tell you that it is something that it is a pre-plan. So we don't even know. They've gone to Murish, they've gone to Juakmetumbi, now they are here. We don't even know where next, because certainly is an early warning sign. So we believe that these assailants, they will not stop. They will still continue because that's what they want.
Okay, tension is really seen and felt everywhere, even in your voice. What do you think can be done now by the security or by the government of the day to ensure this does not happen again?
There's what we call permissive will of God. That is, even as a Christian, you can do some things and then God will allow you to do it. That is the permissive will of God. So on this part, we look at this thing that is happening as a permissive will from the federal government, from the government itself. Because I believe deep down my heart that if the government of the day says enough is enough, it will stop. So this is, they just allow them maybe for their own political reasons or any other thing. If not, how many are they? Are they more than the government can declare them as terrorists? Because that is who they are. So if the government of the day can declare them for who they are, this whole nonsense will stop.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay, so while the dead has been buried, actually, we've been told that there's a mass burial has taken place to lay these victims to rest. And so while they are here, as always, wallowing in their pain, wallowing in their grief, I mean, the call is on government. The call is on security agencies to rise up to this challenge, to rise up to this occasion, to ensure that this dastardly act does not continue to happen. It's back to you now in the studio.
Chizoba, Anionwe right there. Many thanks for your reporting. We are back after the short break. Just to let you know that when we get back, we have two guests to discuss this particular troubling issue. Some parts of the FCT was flooded. The FCT minister actually visited these parts. And we'll have Isaac Fayoshe and, of course, Atumia Amos talking to us a little bit more about this development. That'll be next, right after the short break. The National Human Rights Commission says over 300,000 human rights violations cases were recorded across the country in July, with women and children among the most affected. This was during the July edition of the Commission's monthly Human Rights Dashboard in Abuja, where it reported 354,997 violations, including 382 killings and 230 abductions. The Commission also raised concerns over violence against children, sexual and gender-based violence, online harassment, and hate speech, particularly among political actors.
In July 2026 alone, the Commission recorded a total of 354,997 complaints across the country. This figure, alongside insights from our Human Rights Observatory, paints a sobering picture of the scale of human rights concerns Nigerians continue to face. The dashboard.
Following the flooding recorded in parts of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, during an assessment of the situation, orders the demolition of parts of some buildings identified as obstructing the free flow of water. Earlier, our correspondent, Joshua Imari, was on the ground to assess the situation. Joshua?
Where I am standing currently is Mississippi Street in the Maitama district of Abuja. And as you can see behind me are some individuals trying to clear out the debris. What happened here today was the fact that the FCT minister paid a visit to this place, and this place has been identified to be one of the areas that is obstructing water flow. There is a gentleman who was here when the FCT minister came and would like to get his opinion on what he thinks about this demolition. Part of this establishment was demolished, not the entire property.
Yeah, sure.
Does it mean that work is going to stop here or is going to continue?
Yeah, probably. It's going to take a longer time because they need to re-strategize, need to fix, need to renovate. So at that point, I feel most of the staff, our staffs, right, are going to go for the place to. And I feel from here, they need to go and start looking for another source of to earn a living. So it does not make any sense. Where I find this in so heartbreaking is that the place that was marked for demolition, they left that particular part, and now they are now demolishing another different place that does not. I think this place is not affecting the drainage system. So it's something they need to do better, please. Yeah, they need to do better there.
You just heard from the gentleman. I don't know if he's an employee of this establishment, but he seems to be unhappy about the recent developments with regards to the demolition here in Mississippi Crescent in Maitama district. This is what it is at the moment. Joshua Imarai for News Central.
Many thanks, Joshua Imari, right there. And we're going to expand this discourse with a public commentator, Isaac Fayose. And of course, joining us as well is Professor Atumia Amos, a landscape architect and urban planner. Good evening, you both. Thank you for joining. Let me start with the urban planner. I mean, given what we've seen, it's rare to really find flood in that part of Abuja. Specifically, what have you seen as one of the reasons why this flood happened? And do you think that the order by the FCT minister to demolish those areas are a good call?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. Well, what's happened in Wuse 2 and parts of Wuse 2 is what we call flash flooding. And flash flooding means that when water drops in a very short time, it floods the entire place. So what that means is that Wuse 2 is not permeable. That means that we have a lot of hard surfaces in Wuse 2. So that has made the rains, when the rains fall, it has nowhere to percolate and now floods the city. So that was the major cause of the flooding in Wuse 2. The surfaces were impermeable.
Again, it's rare to find flood in that axis. I mean, what has changed in the last 5 or 10 years in that axis specifically?
Okay, so one of it is removing vegetation cover in that part of Wuse 2. A lot of trees have gone off, a lot of parks have gone off, replaced with residential development. So, and like you know, when rain falls, trees help to reduce the volume of runoff that hits the ground. So Wuse 2 is bare of vegetation. If you look at the satellite imagery from 10 years ago to today, you see that Wuse 2 is losing a lot of its greenery. So that is a major change that has happened and has been a part of the cause of this flooding.
Okay, let me switch gears to Isaac. Isaac, I'm sure you also have been following this development. The call by the FCT minister to demolish certain aspects of that axis, do you think it's a good call?
If you build on waterways, I mean, that means your house have to go. But my question is, who are the people that approved this building, these buildings? I mean, before you can build in FCT, you are supposed to submit your building approval to the government. And at least when you are building, I know development control, they go around to check if you are building according to the plan. So who approved those building plan, those properties and everything? So I think it's a good thing that the minister. I mean, he was proactive by coming out today to quickly say, "Oh yeah, we have to demolish all those properties that are causing these floods." You know. And I still believe our green areas too, they played a lot of roles. Why, I mean, if he is saying, oh, I can demolish this, all the green areas, Minister Wike collected and approved for his friends and cronies to build houses, they too should go. You know, they should go. I mean, how did we find ourselves here? How can you build on drainage? I mean, what is development control doing? Those are the questions we should be asking them. And I think, again, minister too have to check again and go back to the drawing board and check all these green areas is collecting green areas. We have trees, we have all those things that can help us there. Now we don't have them anymore because Once you allocate them for residential purpose, they remove all those trees. So minister to, I mean, they need to, and they need to be hands-on and do what is right. Not when there is flood and now you are now say, oh, there is a house here. Didn't you know before? If you can force us to go and pay our dues, if you don't pay your dues in 30 days, I will seize your CFO. Why didn't you do all these things and say, okay, if you are building on waterways and drainages, then your building must come down. We don't have to wait till things happen before we now start taking drastic decisions.
Are you in any way alleging that the minister, allocated lands to his cronies, and part of the reasons why, some of this flooding, these flash floodings are actually happening? Is that what you're saying?
My brother, who are the people? I mean, before Minister Wike, we've had all our gardens, and they are using Abuja. Abuja, we are known for our gardens, our green, our trees. You cannot build a concrete city. The city can't just be concrete alone. Abuja is the better version of Lagos and other places. So now that we have Minister Wike there, I mean, over 50-60% of our gardens are gone. Go to Zone 4, Zone 3, Metama, many of the gardens are gone. Why will you allocate the gardens that is for the people, for recreation, green area, to your cronies, your friends? Who are you allocating? Are they allocating to me, or do they allocate it to you? So it's obvious they are allocating to themselves. So that is we need to stick to that Abuja master plan. You cannot just come from nowhere and say, no, this land is too much for you. You have enough green area here. Let me convert this to residential. No, it's not allowed. You can't do that abroad. I'm in London right now, where you say this is for water, this is waterways, this is a park. You cannot just suddenly wake up one day because you're a minister and say, no, I'm allocating to Mr. this or Mr. that.
All right, Professor Amos, let me just get your thought on this. I mean, he raised a very valid point regarding this, issues with allocating lands to places that are supposed to be for waterways. I mean, do you see that as a pointed question or a pointed issue or pointed problems that the FCT is actually currently facing?
Well, I think it's a complex problem, like Mr. Fayose has said. Now, number one, these demolitions are selective, okay? And there's always this misinterpretation that it's a waterway. But no, it's not just a waterway. There were vegetations there. There were 100-year-old trees, 50-year-old trees, 150-year-old vegetation, ecological lifelines were built along those drainages. So demolition is not necessarily the solution to this problem, because a building can be brought down in a day. But you cannot bring down a forest in a day and develop it in 10 years. It is not possible. So most of the time when we hear about demolitions, when you demolish, what happens? And don't forget that, like I said, the demolitions are targeted, because if you look at the Abuja master plan, there's a riparian vegetation. That means there's a floodplain. It's a river, that the river passes through the city. So you can't just demolish one building because it's obstructing. You have to demolish across that strip. Now, when you demolish across that strip, what happens? Are you going to replace it with concrete again? Or you're going to replace it with vegetation? So you see, there's a very big misconception and a gap in how the FCT intends to solve this problem. Now, the issue about allotting parklands for residential development is one thing, but there's a difference between parkland, green spaces, open spaces, catchment basements. The whole of Ukwaba, for example, is a catchment basin. It was a forest. And the perception most developers have is they call it bush. But the master plan designated that those places were buffers for the city for times like this. When the city is flooded, we need a basement to collect all of this water. Like we know, in Wuse 2, there's already an engineering drawing. It's in phase 1 of the Abuja master plan. that tells us the channels, the water leaves the city, goes to either the Gurara end or goes to the Usman Dam part of the city. So there's already an engineering design. But the issue is, would you demolish because of humanitarian issues or because of ecological issues? So
let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. I mean, that's a very fabulous place to live it. Many thanks, Amos, and of course, Isaac Fayoshe, for your input on the program. It's an ongoing conversation, and I'm sure we're going to continue with this in our subsequent bulletin. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, when we get back from this short break, how about Nigeria being restructured into 15 regions? That's actually what some group are stating in Abuja. That's next, after this. Welcome back. A fresh push for the restructuring of Nigeria has gained momentum in Abuja, with stakeholders proposing the creation of 15 federated regions as part of efforts to build what they describe as a more balanced and functional Nigerian federation. The proposal was unveiled at a citizens' assembly organized by the Citizens Rebirth and Awareness Initiative, CRAIN, with the theme, "A Nation Built on Consent, Strengthened by Strong Regions and United for Peace, Prosperity and Progress." The convener says restructuring has moved beyond a political talking point, describing it as a survival strategy for Nigeria.
You met a Nigeria that generations even before you were complaining about. Your generation is complaining. Will you leave behind a Nigeria that the next generation will still be complaining about? That is the reason why we are here. You and my humble self will not be forgiven if you lose the Nigeria we have. And we are on the back of doing that if we refuse to do something. Like they will say, if you do nothing, something will happen to you.
Let's look at how to promote the local government structure. Many of us here have the opportunity to travel to the United States of the UK. Almost every accommodation is built in the UK by what? Councils. People, everybody lives in a council flat, including members of parliament. Councils, local governments, they build all the houses, even roads. Our local government structure must function. It's not only to pay salaries, it must function. And there must be regional cooperation between different.
Joining us for a further conversation on this is Owolabio Oladejo. He's a convener, CRAIN. Good to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
Fine, very well. Nigeria currently has 6 regions, and the group you are convening is actually proposing 15 regions. Why are you proposing that? Would that in any way solve the myriad of problems Nigeria is facing today?
Well, I do not know where you got your 6 regions from. As far as I'm concerned, the Nigerian Constitution recognizes states as of today. Yeah, we are almost all agreed that there are 6 geopolitical zones, not regions, as you call it.
Okay.
But I don't know. For me, it is clear, and I've gone around this country. I mean, I've gone around this country. We've been to the 6 zones that you are describing. We started the journey from Ibadan. We went to Kaduna. From Kaduna, we went to Enugu. From Enugu, we went to Jos. From Jos, we went to Port Harcourt. From Port Harcourt, we went to Jos. From Port Harcourt, we went to Jos. So we've gone to the 6 geopolitical zones. And the question is simple. If you say it's Nigeria, are you happy to be a Nigerian? You are losing your youth. Everybody is running out. And I need to tell you this. Yoruba have a saying, which to me makes sense. If you are comfortable at home, you don't need to seek to become an exile? Why are Nigerians traveling? How many Swiss people have you seen struggling for Nigerian visa?
Is a problem currently because of the geopolitical zones or the regions? I mean, why? What would basically the 15 geopolitical zones that you're actually proposing actually solve?
What it will solve is this. We are talking about a government by consent of the people. That's all. In fact, that's everything we are saying is about the consent of the people.
So why don't you just focus on it rather than saying that we would need 15?
Now, when we went around, we were asking Nigerians. For instance, we've seen people who complain about the state structure. A single ethnic group balkanized into 3-4 states. Now, who told you? I'm a Yoruba man. So who told you that the existing Yoruba states, the people there are happy to be together?
Are they not?
I'm not sure. Have you asked them?
With your findings, are they happy?
They are happy being together, but they need to be asked. Don't feed me with what you think is good for me.
Well, you did this research. You traveled around.
I traveled around.
So in Ibadan,
yes.
When you ask people, did they say that they are not good to go together?
They want to govern themselves.
They want to govern themselves?
Yes.
Are they not governing themselves?
No.
The governor of Oyo State is Yoruba?
I think so. Okay. You're right.
The governor of Lagos State is Yoruba?
Yes.
So how are they not governing themselves?
No. When you talk of governing yourself, you are talking of the foundation. The foundation here is the Constitution. How do they get there? This thing is deeper than you are thinking.
Right.
Consent of the governed means the Constitution must be what is handed down by the people. And I dare say, a constitution that creates God in man cannot be relied upon for justice, for fair play.
Right. Okay.
Every governor in this country today is a god. Every president in this country today is a god.
You're looking for a devolving of powers, furthermore. But
what's the meaning of devolving of power?
We're going to speak a little more about this because of time, we just have to leave it here.
Okay.
Hopefully, in another time, maybe tomorrow, next, or next week, we're going to discuss this further, wherever you are in the world. All right. So thank you so much for coming. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
Authorities in Ethiopia's Tigray region have accused federal forces of carrying out a drone strike near the regional capital, Mekelle, amidst growing tensions between the two sides. A local official said the strike hit a farmer training center in Dandera village, about 15 kilometers from Mekelle, at around 10 a.m. on Tuesday. While the Tigray authorities reported no injuries, a local priest told AFP that at least one person was killed and 2 others may have been wounded. The Ethiopian Federal Army has not commented on the allegations. Tigray and federal forces continue to build up troops along the region's borders, raising fears of renewed fighting. A 60-day memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran has expired without a permanent agreement to end the conflict in the Middle East. The agreements reached in June provided for an immediate ceasefire, the lifting of a U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, sanctions relief, and at least $3 billion in reconstruction and economic development funding for Iran. It also required Tehran to pledge never to pursue a nuclear weapon. But both sides have continued tit-for-tat attacks, while the Strait of Hormuz remains contested and global energy prices stay elevated. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will maintain its naval blockade, insisting the United States has total control of the strategic waterway. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our major stories. Political parties signed peace accord in Abuja ahead of 2027 general elections. At least 18 killed in renewed violence as police warn casualty figure could rise. The Tigray accuses Ethiopian federal forces of drone attack near regional capital. Remember, you may send in your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central TV live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Charles Pye.